Rukia and Renji finally make it to Soul Society, and Masked and Masculine enters the ring in my review of Bleach, chapter 559. So as I stated in the beginning of this review, Rukia and Renji do make it finally to Soul Society in this chapter, and I gotta say it's actually great to finally see them for once. They have a brand new design with the brand new cloaks that they're wearing, and it's pretty cool. I'm really anxious to see what a lot of their new abilities are going to be. However, when you do actually see them in this chapter, they're only at the very end, so you really don't get much from them. But there's still some other pretty interesting developments in this chapter, and a lot of them which involve some characters we haven't been involved with in a long time. We have a big confrontation between Haschwalth and Shunshui, who is now the leader of Soul Society, so this is a pretty big deal. But mostly they're just sort of sizing each other up. This is sort of like your typical spaghetti western duel. Both guys are sort of just like standing next to each other, getting ready to draw their guns, and they don't really get to show many of their like big abilities this week. And even Shinshui's lieutenant gets to use like this sort of weird barrier to sort of protect them, and it's kind of hard like how it works. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It basically looks like a bunch of rupees from Zelda connected together to create this giant wall. And apparently it's pretty powerful, and it's been Admiral Akbard because Haschwalth doesn't even want to go near the damn thing, and he gets called back by his leader, and he decides he's gonna get back with Shinshui eventually for their battle. But what's interesting about this scene is when he finally goes back to the leader of the Quincy, we get to see that both BG9 and Kangdu have actually returned, and they have gotten messed up in their respective battles. In particular, BG9, he's just missing like a large chunk of his body, and basically they're about to be executed outright. And they're freaking out because obviously they don't want to be killed, but they still want to serve the king in any way they possibly can. And this is when Haschwalth brings up like this whole tilting the scales thing, and I'm not sure whether to take this figuratively or literally, because he actually has the scene where he's talking to Kangdu, and he slams his sword down on top of his shoulder, and Kangdu's like, dude, I'm Iron Kangdu, you're not going to be able to cut through me. And then Haschwalth is like, can't you see the scales are being tipped? And behind him is this like giant like decorated scale, and I don't know if this has like anything to do with his abilities, I don't know if he has scale abilities, I don't know if this is just like the ultimate metaphor in manga form. All I know is, as the scene ends, he cuts straight down into the floor, killing Kangdu and presumably BG9 at the same time. This again just demonstrates how like brutal the Quincy are and how they really just don't accept failure. But to me, the best part about this chapter is the reintroduction of Masked de Masculine, who is the luchador Quincy, who's just got a great design in general. He just makes you laugh, and he's actually there with his little buddy who's sort of like cheering him on the entire time. He pretty much has like his own cheering squad, but he actually goes up against Ikaku and a group of his friends. We unfortunately don't get to see too much from them, but that's pretty much the bulk of this chapter right here. It was pretty much all build up and a little bit of tension from Shunshui and from Haschwalth, who's a character I think they're really building up quite well, and he looks like he could be kind of like the Itachi or like the Byakuya of the Quincy group, if you know what I mean by that. He just seems like he's going to have a really interesting backstory, and obviously his motives are, you know, really interesting. Why is he so loyal to the king in general, who tends to be kind of a dick and asshole to all of his followers in the first place? But still, this was a pretty good chapter, had some entertaining moments. My favorite scene was probably the confrontation with Haschwalth and Kangdu. Just, that was a really nice, tense scene. Like I said, I'm still a little bit confused about the whole tilting the scales thing. I don't know if that's to be taken literally. But still, it's still a decent metaphor, if anything. And you know, the good thing is Rukia and Renji are there, so you know, they're going to demonstrate some cool things. It's only a matter of time before Ichigo joins them in the battle, and even Byakuya as well. And I know we all want to see Kenpachi go wild. What the hell is he doing right now during this attack? So there it is, decent chapter of Bleach, pretty good artwork. A little slow this week, so I'm going to drop this one down to a 7. Not the greatest chapter in the world, but it had some pretty good tension moments and some pretty cool moments from the Quincy themselves, so 7 out of 10. Check it out, guys. Pretty good. So you guys know my thoughts about this week's chapter of Bleach. I thought it was a pretty decent chapter, but what about you guys? It's your turn to chime in. You can let me know what you thought about this week's chapter of Bleach with your comments below. Remember guys, before you leave, hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It is absolutely one of the best ways to support our videos. And you can see what we have floating around right up top. So, I will see you next time guys. Super Kami Guru 9000, out.